officially welcome to the week one check-in. Good to see you all. We're going to try and keep this to 45 minutes. I hope that's okay for everybody. Anna's here, for those who hadn't noticed. So we are going to, first of all, just a quick reminder of some ground rules, which I think will help us. As I mentioned, the plenary sessions are recorded. There'll be a breakout session, and if you could treat whatever's said in that as confidential, that'd be terrific. I'd encourage openness and curiosity. Maybe things will be different than you expected. Other people might have different views, staying open to those. As far as you can, I know we all have busy lives, but as far as you can, if you can keep engaging with the program and be very generous with your feedback, and there'll be an opportunity to do that a little later in the session. So the agenda is, I thought we could have a quick take stock of week one, just a quick reminder of what we've done in week one. And there'll be a small group discussion where I'm going to put you into breakout groups to kind of quickly review what you made of week one. We'll come back and we'll discuss, take any points that came out of that conversation. We'll look, I'll ask you for some feedback on week one. As you know, it's a pilot and we're very keen to get your perspectives on week one, both from your own perspective and whether or not you think it might work with your clients. And then we'll have quickly look forward to week two to have a look at what's coming up. And depending on the time, there'll be some final Q&As if you have any. As I say, I encourage you to ask questions as we go along. I think it's much more interesting. So without more ado, what we're going to do is a quick review of the week. So I introduced the Wheel of Life. Now, I guess it's a pretty standard coaching tool, but I thought it was still appropriate. And as coaches, sometimes, you know, it's a bit like the cobbler. They don't give themselves proper shoes. Sometimes it's useful for us as coaches to take a step back and have a look occasionally. So I introduced that, and so I hope that was of interest to you. We introduced the first of the elements, the element soil, which reminds us to slow down and reconnect, basically, which I think is a good place for the program to start. We live such frantic lives. A little bit of slowing down and quick breath before we move forward, I think is helpful. I did include an experiential exercise, but it was optional. And this cartoon appeared halfway through the week. For those of you who maybe missed it, I was looking at it again and thought it needed a picture, so I added one during the week. And then we had the days of reflection, what is already working, naming my complaints or concerns. Some people didn't like the word complaints, maybe thought that was a bit strong. So it's complaints, concerns, anxieties, whatever you can use. And then day 5 was stepping back, so you have a look at them from a kind of better perspective. And then we're turning those from some kind of complaint or concern into, okay, what do I want? What's the underlying positive? So if, for example, I'm complaining that I never have any free time and I'm too stressed, what is my underlying commitment? I need a little bit of space in my life, space to breathe, for example. And actually that's the complaints to commitments is part of Robert Keegan and Lisa Leahy's How We Change the Way We Talk Can Change the Way We Work, 7 Languages of Transformation. So it's based on their work, and we do go into that in a bit more detail in the Mind Your Good Life Plus program. Any questions on any of that? Was any questions, observations? I've had some observations and questions from you, some kind of one-to-one, which I really appreciate. And I've updated Sutra to take account of some suggestions from Val. So appreciate that. But any questions, reaction before I move you into the breakout rooms to have a quick review of that? Yeah, Val.
Hi, Rob. A lovely week. Thank you very much. And just to ask you regarding the very final question where it says, if you attended the webinar capture any insights or questions below. Is that referring now to this meeting right now?
Yes, yes. So I put that in just to allow you to reflect on this check-in and what came out of it for you before you lose it or forget it. Just make a note of it, either within Sutra or within your own learning log.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm just fixing up the breakout rooms. Any other questions before we move into the next exercise? Nope. Okay, so the next exercise is, so the format I'm suggesting is we probably will stick to this sort of format. I wanted to give you the chance to have a quick conversation in breakout groups. Now, I can't actually remember who of you know each other, so I'm afraid it's still a bit random. But in your breakout groups, which I'm going to put you into, and Anna, maybe you can join or not as you like. I'm going to invite you to briefly reintroduce yourself. So part of the aim of this program is definitely to create a community, kind of islands of sanity to help us as we go forward. And certainly some of the people who've been through the previous version of My New Good Life are kind of still together, still working and still finding it helpful to be in this kind of small community with a common language. So part of the objective of this is to maybe create some small groups so that you can support each other going on beyond the program. So briefly introduce yourself, summarize what came out of the first week for you, your thoughts, feelings, reactions, anything that surprised or interested you, or maybe irritated you, which you can give us some feedback later. And then identify any remaining questions or concerns that you would have regarding week one. So any points for feedback or issues you would like to explore further. Does that make sense? Any questions on the questions? No? So I'm going to put you into breakout rooms. There should be about 3 people per group.
Robert, can I just ask, are you more interested in us talking about the things that came up for us personally in the content, or our thoughts on the program?
Well, let's keep it to personal, because I really want this to be an experience of going through it personally. So if you could primarily focus on how did it work for me personally, what came out of it for me, that's what I prefer. So the
Right.
aim of this is to give you the experience of going through it, so that in future, if you were to take others through it, it would you kind of understand what they've been through. Okay.
Thank you.
That's a good question. Thank you. Anything else? All right, so I'm opening up the breakout rooms, and we're going to give you 20 minutes or so. Hopefully you can see the rooms are open. Yeah, welcome back. So I'm really keen to get a sense of what came out of week one for you. There's various elements, and I'm very curious to know how it went down with a group of, I think, only coaches, but yes. Would any of you like to kind of give a summary of the kind of reflections in the group? Yes, Ali.
So yeah, reflections in the group. I think there were quite a lot of parallels with us, and what really came out for us was this sense of being a woman, actually. Sorry, Paul. I know Paul well, so and really kind of lots of us in the group had expectations on ourselves from childhood of being a girl and doing what girls do, and expectations on ourselves as women in our caring roles and roles in society, etc. So this time for self, even if it's just 15 minutes a day, this deep time for self, and also as coaches, we're also, as someone said, like, you know, telling everyone else to do the wheel of life and do this and do that. But how often do we just sit still and do the wheel of life and do the reflection. So quite a lot deeper than personally from my point of view, a lot deeper, but good in that respect. And the 15 like structured journaling every day, which is really useful. I've probably forgotten other things in the group, but I think that was the. Does anyone else want to say anything?
I came into your group just as Paul was commenting on the experiential exercise, which I'm slightly anxious about because I didn't know how it would go down. So I was delighted, Paul, that you found it useful. I don't know whether anybody else in the group experienced it as useful, but I think, Paul, you found it helpful.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did, Rob. I did. I think what struck me about it is some days I can feel grounded, even when things around me are uncertain, perhaps. And other days, small things can throw me off balance completely.
Yes.
Um,
No, that's really.
yeah, yeah. And I suppose the exercise for me was a good reminder that grounding is not something we achieve once and we keep forever, and it's something we need to keep returning to and noticing. I think emotionally, mentally, yeah, feeling connected to other people, nature, and a sense of purpose.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know whether that resonated with anybody else or anybody has a completely opposite view of it. Interesting to get your feedback, which we'll do in a minute. Feel free to drop any thoughts into the chat if you have them as well. What about somebody from one of the other groups? Any of the other groups? Val, I saw you nodding your head to the experiential exercise. Did you ever go at that?
Yeah, I did too. I've done it a couple of times. And yeah, Anna, I am of Southern African origin. Hi. And
I
thank you for this
thought the
lovely
accent
program.
sounded familiar.
I've been in Ireland since 2000, but the accent's still there. Yeah. So I found it helpful, and I only did it twice, I confess, but I want to carry on doing it because I did find it very useful. And interestingly, within the discussion itself in this morning, and at both weeks, I've just so loved our discussion group, and I'm just thinking, I think there's a very special quality of person who's chosen to come on this course. There's just been both weeks such a sense of safety and working together and trusting each other, even though we've only just met. And for me, what had come up was overwhelm and realize that my own behaviors sabotage when I'm go into overwhelm, it sabotages, doing the very things I want to do, and that undermines, which took me back to groundedness. But both something I'd come across myself. But Rania, am I saying your name correctly? About the Sabbat, would you share about the Sabbat because it's so interesting to do with sabotaging oneself?
So what you described was that the sabotage came up also as one of the words with the undermining as reaction to overwhelm. Am I right? Well, and then what came up in me, because we learned this in school, the sabotage as part of the French history, and the sabot is the wooden shoe that the workers would wear, and as the weapons of the weak. So they couldn't stop this whole being exploited and fighting against the huge machine. They would throw that shoe and stop the whole machine. And that was the start of the revolt. So then the sabotage is actually stopping something, yes, and undermining something, yes, but maybe something that needs to go for some freedom to develop and as a weapons of weak to start a huge revolt.
Thank you. I wanted just to do a quick review. I've got a quick poll for you. So what I've got here is, maybe I'll show it on the presentation. So just to capture your thoughts, because it is a pilot, I'm going to invite you to just put into a poll how you would rate week 1 for yourself. From the theory, was it appropriate for you as a coach, Wheel of Life? The element soil, how did that go down? Is that useful? If you listened to the little story, was that helpful? The experience exercise, the grounding one we've been talking about, the daily reflection questions, and this check-in, the kind of format and what we're doing in this short but important check-in. So that's what I'd like to get some feedback on. I've got a poll, which I'm going to launch. We've had some problems in the past when people kind of complete it. So don't press complete until you've gone through all of the questions. So I'm opening it up, and hopefully you can start to see the questions. And I will share the results in case you're interested. So most people found the Wheel of Life appropriate and useful. Most people found the element soil one obviously didn't. That's interesting. If you could give me some separate feedback on if you didn't, why, what's happening, how does that work for you? Be really useful. The experience exercise seems to have gone down okay. Daily reflection questions okay. And the check-in okay. So I'm going to stop sharing that. I've got another questionnaire, but this time from your perspective of your client. So as coaches, I'd be interested to know whether you see this as appropriate and useful for your clients. Now, what we've had conversations with in the Mind Your Good Life Plus program is what sort of people this would be appropriate for. And indeed, it's not appropriate for everybody. The kind of personas we found it probably useful for people are kind of midlife, maybe midlife transition, what's going on for me in my life. Or there was another lady who had a coachee who was kind of successful but stuck. So they're in a large German company. They've been doing okay in their career, but they sort of ground to a halt. I'm not sure what to do next. So that we can see that this could be useful for different sorts of personas, but definitely not for everybody. So I'm quite interested to get your sense of whether you could see this would be useful for the kind of clients that you deal with. Share results. So most people, for the question 1, Wheel of Life, okay. The element soil, one person disagreeing, maybe it's the same. Interested to find out what's going on. Experiential exercise, maybe too much for some clients. I did make it optional because I did wonder about that. The daily reflection questions, fine. And the check-in, okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So, yes.
There is a question that I think is worth going back to from Louise, where Louise, you say, I'm not quite clear on the third question of yesterday's reflection. So, and the question is, if this complaint were pointing towards a commitment, what might it be asking me to stand for rather than to fix?
Yeah, okay. So what I'm thinking of there, I mean, I don't know whether you have any thoughts, Anna, but from my perspective, it's like if my complaint is that I'm completely overwhelmed and frazzled, then what am I committed to? What's the deeper commitment? I would say that's giving myself, freeing up some time, some space, time to disconnect. That's what I'm thinking of. I'm not sure whether does that make sense?
Yeah, it might be just hard to relate to with the issue I have in mind. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. Okay, conscious of the time. I always need to take longer enough thinking. Okay, so that's we've done that. So just wanted to briefly introduce week 2. So in week 2 we start to explore what does it mean to live a good life. There is some reflections around what is good life. We introduce some different perspectives, which is optional. So we start to encourage some reflection on the good life, and we invite people to create some kind of board to capture their idea of what a good life might be like. We move into the element air breath, which invites us to create some space to breathe, step back, and loosen our grip on the familiar ways of thinking. We have a kind of a meditation as an option. So this is kind of sitting visualization option. And then in days 3, 4, 5, and 6, we look at remembering good days. What was a good day for me? What do I long and wish for? Sensing a good life and what is calling me. So that is what we've got lined up in week 2. I just wanted, one thing I wanted to show you, thanks to some feedback, I think thanks to Val, I think Val said it gets a bit annoying to have to keep scrolling down. So what I've done is in the next week, I've explored with this different way of presenting the information. So there's days 1 and 2, days 3 to 7, and the PowerPoint recording. So if you click on, I've left everything else as it is, but for ease of accessing, you can now go straight for example, days 3 to 7. So if you've completed days 1 and 2, you can click on that, and that will get you straight in without having to keep scrolling down. So hopefully that will make your lives a little bit easier. Okay. So I'll be interested in feedback later on. This is the best way I could organize it within Sutra to avoid you having to keep scrolling down through lots of stuff to get to the reflection exercises at the bottom. Okay.
Rob, another question. Where is the button to get the PDF of the theory so one can print it out?
Okay, so if you look at the circle here next to Anna, if you click on that, it says export PDF.
Perfect. Thank you. I couldn't find
All right.
it. Thank you.
Now you won't get quite all of that, but you should have the export PDF.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any final questions, remarks, suggestions? Terrific. Okay, well, I'm slightly over time. Thank you very much for your patience. Really appreciate it.
Just one thing, Rob. Remember, all of you, this is about putting your own oxygen mask on first, right? It's your space and time. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Enjoy the week. Enjoy week 2.
Thanks.